When the sheriff kicked in my cabin door that Friday evening, the last thing he expected to find was a 78-year-old woman sitting in my recliner, quietly working on a crossword puzzle, with classical music playing in the background. That woman? My mother, Dorothy Hammond. And let me tell you, the look of confusion on that deputy's face was priceless. But even better, watching the smug expression of Patricia Worthington. The queen of the HOA absolutely collapsed when she realized her latest stunt had just blown up in her face. My name's Daniel Hammond. I'm 41, recently divorced, and the new full-time resident of a lakeside cabin in a place called Pine Ridge Estates. After my marriage ended, I left the city and moved into this cabin permanently. Remote work, quiet nights, birdsong in the morning. It was supposed to be my peace, but what I didn't know was that Pine Ridge Estates came with one little catch. Her name was Patricia. Patricia Worthington, HOA president, self-appointed enforcer of all things orderly. She wore power suits to the grocery store, treated her golf cart like a patrol vehicle, and could recite the HOA bylaws from memory going back to 1987. My only crime? Being under 60 and living here year-round from day one. She had me marked. The harassment started small. A notice about my mailbox being 3/4 of an inch off regulation. A warning about my car's front tire being too close to the lawn. She'd cruise past my cabin 4 times a day, scribbling notes on a clipboard, occasionally stopping to measure my grass with an actual ruler. And yes, I'm serious, she once accused me of attracting non-approved wildlife because of a bird feeder. Now, my mom would visit once or twice a month, stay a few days, and usually leave me with a few loaves of banana bread and a reminder to eat something green. Sweet lady, retired school teacher, always smelled like lavender and cookies. But Patricia, she was convinced I was running some kind of illegal operation. It escalated in October. I had a morning doctor's appointment in the city and planned to be back by dinner. Mom had arrived the night before, so she stayed back at the cabin, probably doing what she always does, drinking tea and destroying the Sunday crossword. But apparently, Patricia had been watching. She saw me leave and assumed I'd gone on some extended trip. Around 4 p.m., she called the sheriff's department claiming a break-in. Said she saw a stranger enter my cabin through the back door. By 5 p.m., I pulled into my driveway and saw 3 sheriff's vehicles, lights flashing, and half the neighborhood gawking from their porches. There was Patricia standing tall like she'd just saved the community, shouting about trespassers and possible squatters. Lead deputy approached me cautiously, hand resting on his holster. He asked for ID and wanted to know if I lived there. I calmly handed him my license and explained that this was my full-time residence. Then came the kicker. He asked if anyone was supposed to be inside. I said, yeah, my mother. Patricia's face, you could see the gears grinding. She screamed that it wasn't possible I lived alone. She knew that. She'd verified it. The officers insisted on checking the cabin. I unlocked the door and called out to Mom, explaining that the police were here over some misunderstanding. She came out from the kitchen, glasses on, tea in hand, looking confused but composed. The deputy relaxed immediately. Mom greeted them warmly, showed her ID, and even offered them cookies. They politely declined. Patricia, meanwhile, was unraveling. She tried to spin it like she was just protecting the neighborhood, but the deputy wasn't having it. He asked if she actually saw someone break in. She admitted she saw someone use a key. The deputy's tone changed. He explained clearly that someone entering a home with a key isn't breaking and entering. He asked if she had any evidence of a crime. She had nothing. That's when I pulled out my phone. I showed the deputy months of documentation, photos of her trespassing, a video of her peering into my windows, and a massive folder of bogus violation notices. He scrolled silently. Then he turned to her and calmly said, "Filing a false police report is a crime." Turns out, this wasn't her first time. She had a history calling 911 over neighbors playing music, grilling with too many guests, or flying American flags that were too large. She tried to argue she had the right as HOA president, but the deputy shut her down. HOA authority, he said, doesn't include surveillance, trespassing, or wasting police resources. He issued her a citation right there in my driveway and warned her that any further harassment could lead to criminal charges. The next morning, I filed a formal complaint and demanded an emergency HOA board meeting. Word spread fast. Turns out I wasn't the only one. At the meeting held the following Tuesday, half the neighborhood showed up. People were angry, tired, ready to speak. One elderly veteran told how Patricia called the cops on him for flying a flag. A young mom shared how her toddler's sidewalk chalk earned them a $500 fine. Another woman, a widow, described how Patricia measured her holiday decorations with a tape measure and cited her for exceeding the approved square footage. She even installed motion-detecting cameras aimed at several homes without permission. By the time it was over, the board voted unanimously to remove her from her position. She refused to leave. Security had to escort her out of the building as she screamed about property values and the collapse of civil order. But it didn't stop there. The county prosecutor got involved. Given her pattern of misusing emergency services, they decided to press charges. At her arraignment 2 weeks later, Patricia stood in court, still wearing one of her iconic suits as the judge listed the charges. 1 count of filing a false police report, maximum penalty, 1 year in jail, and a $5,000 fine. When she heard the potential sentence, her knees buckled. She grabbed the defense table for support. Her lawyer entered a not guilty plea. But the damage was done. Her reign was over. The neighborhood has been peaceful since then. People smile more. The clipboard patrol is gone. No more rulers in the grass. No more dibbles of wind chime noise. And my mom, she still visits every month, still brings banana bread, still finishes her crosswords and ink. As for me, I finally have what I came here for. Peace. Sometimes, when people cling too hard to power, they end up showing their true selves. And sometimes, the quiet ones fight back in the loudest way possible.